Today's conversation is sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners.
You know, it just hit me just like a minute ago. It just hit me why I took action when I did. I didn't take action for 10 years because, like we've always been told, people will run faster from pain than to pleasure.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, the #1 podcast for long-distance real asset investing.
Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. I'm your host, Billy Keels, and you know what? We are back for another amazing conversation. Today, you're really going to take a lot out of this conversation. I'm sure of it. But before we even get there, I want to say thanks, continuing to keep us in the top 1.5% of podcasts globally. And there's more than 3 million podcasts. So thank you for your continued dedication and listenership. We really appreciate that. For those of you who are tagging us on social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, we really appreciate it. When those of you that are leaving honest written reviews, love those. And if you haven't, there's a nice little video, especially on the Apple Podcast platform. You can do it there. And if you want to check out any of the previous episodes, you can go to firstgenc.com/podcasts and find every single episode. So today we have it's a pretty cool conversation. Like, this is someone who is a business expert, with strong business consultancy, is leveraging that business consultancy. So for all of those of you who are, you're maybe in the software sector, maybe you are a business consultant, there's a lot here for you. So you don't have to keep working like a zillion hours a day. You can cut a lot of that down dramatically by being able to listen to this conversation and find out how you can leverage efforts of others. You're really going to enjoy this, finding out his story and understanding how he's transitioning from one to the other, actually keeping both of them moving and accelerating the businesses. You're going to really enjoy the conversation that I had with Chad Schieler, who is a founder at Focus Capital LLC. And we're going to get to that conversation just after this. So if you want to understand how electronics payment expertise can translate into your long distance investing success and more, then guess what? Today's a conversation you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. You know why? Because today's guest not only has 17 plus, well, I would almost say almost 2 decades of experience assisting business owners with payment services. He's also a multifamily investor, syndicator, and operator. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation the founder of Focus Capital LLC, Mr. Chad Schieler. Chad, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Billy. Great to be on here, man. It's been a pleasure here. Looking forward to it. Let's go.
Dude, you know what, man? I've enjoyed your energy, even from the early on conversation. And I am absolutely positive that the Going Long family today is going to take away massive loads of expertise that is going to be practical, that they can put into action. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. I don't know about you, man. No pressure.
So am I.
No pressure. All right, here we go. Well, you're going to get 5 questions, man. At least 5 questions. Well, 5 is the minimum. You're going to get more questions than that. You're going to get 2 now. You're going to get 3 in the beginning. The first one's over to you, which is help us understand, where is it that you call home today?
So home for me is in Fishers, Indiana. It's a northeast suburb of Indianapolis, Indiana. So I've been here my whole entire life.
All right. Fantastic. So a fellow Midwesterner, is very kind of cool. I appreciate that you decided to be here with us today. And then from where you live to some positive stuff, because I really enjoy positivity. So Chad, help us understand, what is the most positive thing that's happened to or for you in the last 24 hours?
You know, it's kind of bittersweet, but my 4-year-old daughter's first day of school was this morning, and I dropped her off at school, walked her in, and it's kind of like a sad day that has happened already, but it's also a really great day that, like, this is this next chapter in her life. So that's a positive day. Yeah.
Fantastic. So your daughter, I have a question. When you dropped her off, what was that moment like? Did she run and leave you? Did she kind of look back and go, well, what's going on here? Like, what was that about? Like, how did that feel for you?
Well, on the way there, she told me and my wife, she goes, I'm kind of a little nervous, guys, a little nervous. So we said a prayer in the car and we walked in and she held her hands and she wasn't saying a whole lot. We walked in the door and the teacher inside had her standing in the line with the other kids and like this little blue line on the floor. She stood there and I'm like, all right, honey, we're going to leave now. I love you. And her eyes got really big. Like, she has the biggest blue eyes and they got so big. I could tell she was a little bit nervous, but she'll be okay. But it was, for me, it was kind of emotional. It's like our daughter's growing up. We only have one kid and the day is here, but our baby's getting bigger.
Yeah. It reminds me, like, I've got two sons, and one of the sons on the first day was like crying, didn't want to leave, and the other was like, all right, see you later. Boom, on to the next, like on to the next thing. Like, okay, cool. So yeah. So I'm always interested because that first day is such an important day, and I appreciate you, opening up and sharing that with me and the Going Long family. So that's pretty awesome. I want to get into helping the Going Long family understand more about you. Now, I try this thing where I try to tell your entire backstory in like 1.5 seconds. I don't know. I'm a recovering perfectionist. Everybody in the Going Long family knows that about me. You're just finding this out, Chad. So here's the thing. It was going to be impossible to tell your backstory in that short period of time. So because it's my show and my platform, I'm going to now turn it over to you and ask you to do something that I could not do, which is tell your backstory in your own words. And guess what, Chad? You get a whole lot more than a second and a half. You take the amount of time that you want to take so that me and the Going Long family get to know more about you and the things that you've been doing. And then after you've done that, well, we'll see where you and I take the conversation from there. Sound like a plan?
Okay. Yep. Sounds good, man. Sounds
over to
good.
You.
Well, I'll try and keep it on a straight path and I'll take too many fingers, too many side roads here and there. That's my fault sometimes, but
that's two of us, man. You're good.
Yeah. So I'm Midwestern guy, born in Indiana. I grew up, about an hour and a half north of Indianapolis. I was homeschooled in high school, went to college at 17, went for 3 semesters and dropped out. I said, college is not for me. I didn't want to go that route, and started working in the workplace. Started doing retail management for 7 years. Did my own business, a couple different things, and started, aftermarket car installs and parts out of my garage, trying to do my own thing. I was more of an entrepreneur by nature. And then I started doing credit card processing services back in 2007. And a friend of mine got me involved in that. And that was the first taste of residual income, like kind of passive income, but really doing something today and get paid for it again and again and again. And that's going to really come into play now with real estate. It all kind of all ties together. And I got my taste of how I could put in work now and get paid in perpetuity, for a long, long time, brother. So spent about 13 years in the credit card processing services, servicing accounts, learned a lot of stuff through that, a lot of skills, learned how to, add value to people's lives more so than trying to sell them a widget or sell them a service and just try and lower their costs. So it's more trying to be the best value on the market, try to give them the best service, best support, and also charge a little higher price for it. Because as we know, if your whole sales pitch is lower costs, it's a race to the bottom of the barrel and nobody wins. So that was my strategy there, but paid off very well. And then I knew I wanted to get into real estate for a long time, and probably like the last 10 years, I never took action until about 6 years ago. I read some books, listened to podcasts, and spent about 3 years researching, just in my spare time and learning and talking to people and looking at properties, putting offers in, and finally bought my first property in 2020. And so for about 2 years, I was doing the full-time, credit card business, full-time, probably 50 hours a week, honestly. And doing some real estate, bought a 4-unit, bought a 15-unit, bought a 20-unit. And then I'm like, all right, hold on. I can't keep doing both these things here at the same time and make this all work, right? So I was up to, I think, 40 units or so. Yeah, 39 units. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just hire somebody to take over my credit card business. So about a year and a half ago, I hired an admin, my first hire ever, really. Hired an admin to take over the day-to-day stuff, like the phone calls, the texts, the emails, the new accounts, the referrals, mailing birthday cards out, handwritten thank you cards, gifts every quarter. So I hired her on about a year and a half ago, and that's paid off so much to where she handles all the day-to-day stuff. I got all my time out of the business so I can focus more on real estate. So then I hired a coach in real estate. I'm getting to the end here pretty soon, Billy, by the way. I'm almost
all good, man. Take your time. I told you, there's no time limit. You get to tell your backstory the way you want to, man. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. But that launched me into, getting to a mentoring program with real estate, which really cut down a lot of years of learning for me. And then I acquired a 25 unit and a 70 unit. And then we formed Focus Capital last year after kind of, having some partnerships that weren't really didn't love where they were heading, direction they're heading, and decided to form my own team. And I was more of my skill set was just being a leader of my own team. So now we formed Focus Capital, and now we're building that out, and things are going great.
Fantastic, man. So things are going great. You're building out Focus Capital, LLC, and a couple of things that I really want to ask you about, because you mentioned what the things that you were doing, and then you said we're building out Focus Capital. Just put a pin in that. I'll come back to that. But one of the things that you mentioned that I think is really, really interesting is that, so you have this business that you are leading. It's a business that you do some work up front, and it pays over time. You talked about having a friend bring you into the credit card processing services, but this is something that a lot of people, especially when you're already in a business ownership capacity, it's about resource allocation, right? And where do you place resources and priorities? But you said something really interesting, if I understood you correctly. You said you decided to make your first hire, and you made that first hire on your credit card side of the business versus the real estate side of the business. So I'm just wondering if you can take us through the thought process, because you were going to make a hire anyway. So why place it in a business you already had versus in a business that you were going to really start to expand on?
Well, I had two options last year. I mean, I could either just let the credit card business kind of drift off and go, which I didn't like that option because a lot of my friends are my clients, and they got to be supported. And we have referrals come every single month. We have referrals coming in. We've got new accounts coming in on their own just from doing good work over the last 17 years. Mm-hmm. That's option one. Or option two is with option one, I probably still have some time involved. I can't just let it all go. I can't cut it off and let my friends hang to dry, right?
Yeah.
Option number two is, let's be smart about this. Let's leverage my time. Let's hire an admin, train her how to do everything, and keep these people really, really happy. Keep this train rolling. Keep this revenue stream going. And that kept going up. I've added no new accounts last year, and it's still climbing. So for me, it was I'm just going to do what I can to pull all my time out of that business, suck it all out. I'm probably 2 hours a week right now in the business today, 2 hours a week. And that was I think it was the smartest move to go that route, so I can keep that plate spinning and focus all my time on real estate.
So the thing that I really like about that, and I know you said it earlier and you've just said it again, it was because you were looking to pull your time out of that. And I guess the one of the key things that I'm hearing is because you already had an expertise in that business. So it was really just about probably documenting and sharing your expertise with someone else that could do something very similar, probably not exactly the same as you, but very similar, to able to get the similar results. And if I've understood you correctly, you also said that the revenue is increasing. You didn't say revenue, but my assumption is that's what you meant, that the revenue is increasing, and you're actually putting less time in that business, and your clients are happier. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then it allows you the time to actually start to learn more about this new business. So that was kind of the pivot that you made, and that was the decision, prioritization. And it seems like that's working out pretty well for you so far.
Yeah, and I knew that things would get really messy. And I knew if I went and hired the first real estate hire, if I did that a year and a half ago, number one, I wasn't ready for it yet. Yep. I didn't have the portfolio size. I didn't have any time to go find more deals. So that's what it really was, man, is I didn't have time to find more deals. I had no extra time. You can't buy more time. It's finite. So I knew I had to find time somewhere to go find more deals. I had to find time to go manage the deals I already had. I had to find time to go work with my mentoring program and learn. So I had to pull my time out. I had to do that.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, especially when you're in corporate, I relate a lot of things when I was in corporate world, you realize that when you can effectively leverage the efforts of others, you get a chance to win in both places, or however many places you're putting your priorities. And sometimes we get this sense that, hey, if we just stay up a little bit later, if we just do a little bit more work, then we can get the result. But there's, to your point, only 24 hours in a day, and you get to a point where you can't do it anymore, right? So I appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing that. You'd also mentioned kind of haphazardly, like you always wanted to get into real estate, and it'd been a decade, and you finally decided to, you just kind of, the same thing happened to me. It wasn't a decade before I took action, but it wasn't far off. What was it that was attracting you to real estate enough to get your energy to a place where you said, look, I want to read, I want to listen to podcasts, I want to do it. And the reason I asked the question, I grew up in a family where no one talked about real estate. It wasn't even on we rented places, but it wasn't anything we thought about of investment. So when you talk about real estate, I'm just curious, because you're already in a successful business anyway, What was it about real estate that attracted your attention?
You know, it just hit me just like a minute ago. It just hit me why I took action when I did. I didn't take action for 10 years because, like we've always been told, people will run faster from pain than to pleasure. So I knew 10 years ago that real estate was this great opportunity to invest in, and my job was going great. I was making money every year. It was increasing. It was going fine. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened was right before COVID hit, there were some changes in kind of the, let's call it commission or pay structure with my other business I was a part of. And it wasn't as favorable. And it made me realize, okay, I am almost, I'm late 30s here. When this happened, I'm like, I'm not going to allow my future to be in the hands of somebody else. And I'm not going to be doing this 10 years from now and have no plan B in life. Like, I'm taking control of my own future in my own hands, and I'm going to determine for myself with what I'm going to do in my life and have no ceiling on it. I knew real estate was a vehicle to do that with. And I knew, to answer your question, Billy, like my family's in real estate. My uncle did, my grandpa did very well at that. I have friends that do it too. And I knew it was a good thing to be in, but not until I was really up against a wall and was facing some friction with my other business. That's when I started to really take action.
That's really interesting, right? So it's running away from pain. And then I'm thinking about one of the things that you said in the beginning, like just the way that you were brought up, right? You were brought up, you were homeschooled, you decided that you wanted to, instead of like traditional university, you went there and you're like, I don't like this. And then you went back into specialized skill into community college. How much do you feel like your early days played into that focus of you saying, hey, look, man, I don't want to have somebody else be in control of the outcomes of my life?
Same thing, man. Same thing. You're right. It definitely correlates.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because when you start learning stories, and sometimes like you sharing your story can help that person who is maybe has a similar path and they feel trapped in corporate today, or they feel like, man, you know what? Eventually there's going to be another change and it's going to be out of my control. Like, what can I do now to avoid this feeling of, oh my gosh, my number came up and I was the person who was, I'm now out of a job. It's going to, affect my life in all of these different ways. Cool. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. So now I'm going to kind of pivot to the other direction, right? Because there's been this focus on how do you do things to help you avoid pain, but then you also have started a company, right? And your company, Focus Capital LLC, like one of the things that you're doing is not just creating these assets, you're also looking to help others. So kind of talk to me about why expand into a place where you're not just worried about, and I say worried, quote unquote, air quotes, if you're watching the video version. And if you're not watching the video version, come watch us on the video version, is, now being able to go out and help others rather than just focus on yourself. Where does that come from, man?
Yeah. So remember earlier I said my other business, like it kind of ties together in terms of helping people, adding value to businesses' lives. Now I get to help people create more wealth. So I look at this as a way to help other people alongside me get different revenue streams of their income, help them diversify, help them, put money in something that's not as volatile, place money in hard assets that cash flow. I love this. I can help people truly make up a difference in their life, which changes my life as well.
Fantastic. So you're having the opportunity to positively impact someone else in a specific way. You're doing that. And kind of, I know a little bit, but just because of kind of where I spent a lot of my corporate career, like payments process is very like process driven. I understand. So talk to us a little bit about kind of what you're doing today in Focus Capital LLC, kind of your own discovery process and understanding how you can help others in terms of realizing like what their priorities are, what their goal, maybe not what their priorities are because they have to know those, but help them in their discovery process in terms of what you're doing and how that maps into what their life priorities are.
Yeah. You mean regarding the investments?
Yeah. Or either their investments or just the educational portion leading to the investment.
Yeah. I mean, what we focus on is really educating people through, LinkedIn, our website, different articles we publish, just helping people understand that there is another option out there. You don't have to be stuck to your 9 to 5, for 50 years to rely on for retirement. I mean, real estate is a great vehicle. It's a really safe vehicle to invest in, to put your wealth into, and it can grow very, very quickly as compared to other investment options. Just a quick high level. Obviously we acquire multifamily assets in the Midwest area, and we source them, we analyze them, we manage them for the next 5-7 years, and then we pay our investors a distribution every quarter, usually with updates and communications, and we sell it, and they reap the benefits along the way. So that's what we do, and each investor that we have right now, they're very, very happy. It's a very risk adjusted return a very great return when it comes to other options.
Yeah. Well, and so I appreciate you kind of talking to us at a high level. You also made another decision, and I think a lot of life comes as a result of the decisions that we make, right? And we usually don't know what the effect of those decisions are until later, of course. So you mentioned that you were decided to start taking action in real estate, listening to podcasts, reading books, probably watching videos, probably a lot of videos. Hopefully some of them were my videos. No, I'm just kidding. But as you're starting this education process, you also said that you did something that was really important, which was you decided, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you decided to go out and look for a mentor. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Was there an exchange of money for that mentor? Was it you paid mentor?
There was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
So talk to us about that, because I'm just interested in your thought process when you said, hey, look, I'm going to invest my own money and time that you can never get back into someone that's going to, because you said earlier, to help you save time. But just talk us through the thought process that you went through, because there are a lot of people that are in corporate roles today that just are going, I don't know if it's right for me. I'm not sure. It seems like a lot of money, blah, blah, blah.
It's a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of money. It could be 20 grand, it could be 50 grand. There's different prices out there. But my thing is, I knew the path I was heading on. I knew for sure real estate was my end goal and my end journey. That's my end path in life with business. So with that in mind, and if that's a fact, how are we going to get there? How are we going to get that accomplished the greatest? Well, we do it on our own, make mistakes, which I did for the first couple of deals. I made my mistakes with my own money. Then I realized I'm having trouble with underwriting, having trouble understanding syndications, having trouble understanding how to put deals together, how to do due diligence. I'm having trouble understanding how to raise capital. How do I build a team? And you can figure out on your own, or you can shorten that learning process, the learning curve, right? You could turn years into days. Right. And just shorten that, shrink it down. And my thought was, all right, I'm going to pay 30 grand here. And either I learn a ton and I don't make 30,000 with mistakes, or it's just a huge win. I mean, either way, it's a win for me. So I was able to shorten the learning curve, get more comfortable with syndications, get more comfortable finding deals. I was able to learn a lot of new skill sets. So for me, it was a total win.
And so I love your response. Well, yeah, it is a lot of money. And it's one of those things where at a certain point, it depends. I don't know if this happened to you, because I know I paid for a hefty high 5-figure kind of mentoring coaching program. And I got to a point where I needed something that was going to give me enough pain, to your point earlier, like to move forward. Like it wasn't going to be enough to have a 10 grand program or, something like that. That wasn't going to cause me pain because of the type of role that I had. I had to do something that was going to get my attention, that was going to draw me to say, okay, I'm going to focus here and I'm going to listen to the person who's already been on the path before me so that they can help me accomplish two things. One, get to the goal and do it in less time.
Yep. With less mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. But I love how you frame that, because I mean, if you're not investing enough in yourself that it draws your attention, then you probably shouldn't invest, right? If you're that person that's out there, you're making. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the best investment ever you can make is in yourself.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No. Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. Because it is one of those things. It's like, if you're somebody who's out there and you're making, high 7 or high 6-figure salary, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to invest $5,000 in this program or 10 grand in this program. It's probably not going to get your attention. It's got to be something where Chad is going like, well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money, and that's going to get your attention, and you're going to take action, or there's a higher probability of you taking action. So I appreciate you just kind of taking a pit stop there to help us get into the mindset, because I know a lot of us struggle with, is paid coaching, is paid mentoring, is it the thing for me? And I guess at the end of the day, it depends on how quickly do you want to get to your goal, and if you have an opportunity or not there. So before we go into the going along final three, like one of the things I would love for you to, because you've built this expertise, right? You built this previous expertise. You decided to, bring somebody on as part of your team to help leverage that. But what do you think has been the biggest, what's the right way to say this? Like, there are things I'm sure that about that business that you were running that you are leveraging today in the real estate side of your business, where I'm sure as a business owner, you're seeing some synergies, and I'd love for you to see, like, what is it that you did from that 17 plus years of experience that you're now leveraging today to get even more positive impact and results from the real estate side of your business?
Two things. I saw a huge impact in my revenue with the other business when we started doing handwritten thank you cards and sending out gifts. And we do it today with all of our investors. And I think it's a relationship strategy that is lost. Like, the handwritten thank you card is just like a lost art nowadays. Yep. And when you get a thank you card like that in the mail, like, it triggers something in your mind. Like, wow, this guy took time to write this thing out. Even I feel the same way when I get one of those in my mailbox. Yep. So we do that. And then referrals, asking for referrals and really cultivating that relationship with people to where they want to give you referrals. Mm-hmm. That's how I excelled in my other business. So now today with our investor group, I'm making sure I'm really having a relationship with these guys, and a lot of our referrals all of our investors come from referrals of our current investors.
Yeah. No, love that. And I'm a big fan of the same handwritten notes. I enjoy gifting because I think it demonstrates how much you care. And so I appreciate you giving us some insight. Chad, I cannot believe, man, we got to get into the going along final three. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yes.
This goes super fast. I can't even believe it, man. I can't even believe it. Oh, anyway. So here's the thing. So we know that you are on the northern suburbs of Indianapolis. And I think we talked about this. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, but I want to bring things over to this side of the pond where I've called home for over 2 decades, to Europe. And I would love for you to share with me and the Going Along family, what is your favorite European city, Chad, that you've either visited or is still on your bucket list to visit?
My favorite so far is Positano, Italy, the Amalfi Coast. Ooh. We spent a week there in an Airbnb a while back, and went to Rome as well. But I love Positano. It's very just quiet and chill and very beautiful.
Very cool. Positano. So we will add that to the list. So thank you for sharing that. Question number 2 of the Going Along Final 3 has a lot to do with, I think you said you made a mistake or two. I know I have along the way. So, and a lot of times it's not about the mistake or the learning opportunity or the seminar that some people will say. It's really like, what do you do when you sit down and you analyze and you say, okay, well, what did I learn from this? And how can I put different strategies, tactics, and actions in place to minimize the probability of this exact same thing happening again? So once again, I don't want you to think about the mistake that you made. I do want you to think about one specific issue. But more importantly, it's the second phase when you sat down and said, okay, well, listen, this is the lesson I learned. I'd love for you to share that lesson with me and the Going Along family today. What is that one lesson you want to share with us?
The lesson I learned is that it's better to make the wrong decision than make no decision at all.
Yeah. Indecision it can crush you too. So, so make the decision. Whether it's the right one or the wrong one, you'll see that later on. Indecision usually doesn't help anybody. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, I did actually. I wanted to expand where this came from. Is it took me 3 years to buy my first deal, and I think I have analysis paralysis, which is a fault of mine, and I'm still struggling with it today. But what I learned there is, like, you've got to make decisions faster in life. Take action sooner. And just jump in with your head first. I need to do it myself and just like get it over with, get the mistake done, and that's the best lesson you'll ever learn. But what I learned from that now in today's is I'm just trying to shrink the time that I make a decision by at least half. Just shrink it down and just make a decision and go with it.
Awesome. Love that, man. Love that. Question number 3. This is the last one, and we'll take it home, I guess, as they say. Really about feeding our minds with education. So what is one book that you would recommend to the Going Long family today?
It's hard to give just one, man. I have 5 here written down. I'd say what really flipped the switch in my mind about 4 months ago with business that's catapulted me into building a team was the book, Who Not How. It really clicked. I liked it a lot.
Who Not How, Mr. Sullivan. So if I'm not wrong, I would say, especially for those of us that are like recovering perfectionists, right? Because nobody can do as well as we can do. And I put my hand up because I am a recovering perfectionist, and I used to think no one can do as well as I can do. And the thing is maybe they can't, but they don't have to. And especially if you find the person who actually knows that space better than you, there's a pretty high probability that they're going to do it better than you. They're going to do it differently. And the result is more than likely going to be superior, which is tough for those of us that are recovering perfectionists, but it's just the reality. So Who Not How, we're going to add that to the list. And I just think about how fast these conversations go. Honestly, Chad, I'm thinking about you talking about dropping your daughter off at school and being able to, watch her walk away and stand behind the blue line. And then from there, you're heading back home, and you're telling us about being from the Midwest and the 7 years that you had in retail management. And then you also had a friend that kind of brought you into this thing and helped you and helped you get around the credit card processing space. And then from there, you got 13 plus years in that particular space. And you also knew in the back of your mind that there was something else you wanted to do. You got to this point where, hey, they were going to start changing comp plans, and hey, nobody ever likes to be in that position. So you had a little bit of fear factor. So it pushed you into action, read more books, and finally decided and listened to more podcasts, saw more videos, but it was time to actually get out there, take action. You bought your first quadplex, and you bought another 15 and another 20. And finally you got to a point and said, hey, well, listen, I need to start placing my bets on the resources. And you decided to go with a place that you already knew, leverage that, expand that, blew that even more positively as you continue to build your real estate practice and build the expertise and build your community. And, you've gotten to this point now where even, you're sharing, things that you're realizing even a couple months ago, which is the types of finding the right who's and not just the hows. And as you're doing all this with Focus Capital LLC, I know that my Going Long family is like, Billy, just ask him the question. So I'm going to ask you the question. What is the best way for the Going Long family to find out more about you, what you've got going on at Focus Capital LLC?
Well, I'd say I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, man. I'm there every day. So LinkedIn's probably the best spot. My website, focusedcapital.com. My email, chad@focusedcapital.com. Let's connect there.
All right.
Love to.
Fantastic. All right. Awesome. Well, listen, Chad, I would like to say thank you very much for deciding to invest your time with me, with the entire Going Long family. It means the world to us. So thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
All right,
awesome.
Cool. Hey, Chad, can you give me like 15 seconds max? Because I just want to say the last words to the Going Long family. Yes. Cool. Listen, Going Long family, Chad left it here. He shared about his real life experience. He talked about how he leveraged the efforts of others and being able to also now expand not just on his own portfolio, but helping to bring others into the fold as well. Take today's conversation, share it with friends, family, talk about it, like take action today. And heck, Chad's even giving you a way to reach out to him directly. You all know we love being over on LinkedIn, so check him out there. And while you're doing that, taking action, I'll be here preparing for the next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. Thank you very much.